हम में से कितने लोग ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार के बारे में जानते हैं? गुरु अर्जन देव के शहीदी दिवस गुरुपर्व के 2 दिन बाद 5 जून 1984 को भारतीय सेना ने सिखों के सबसे पवित्र धार्मिक स्थल अमृतसर के स्वर्ण मंदिर में कार्रवाई कर वहां छिपे आतंकवादियों का सफाया कर दिया था। इस कार्रवाई में 100 से अधिक सैनिक शहीद हुए, सैकड़ों आतंकवादी मारे गए और 1000 से अधिक पिलग्रिम्स की जान गई। स्वर्ण मंदिर और अकाल तख्त को भारी नुकसान पहुंचा। अधिकतर सिखों में नाराजगी छा गई, इतनी कि इसके लिए तत्कालीन प्रधानमंत्री इंदिरा गांधी को जिम्मेदार मानते हुए उनके ही अंगरक्षकों ने उनकी हत्या कर दी। भारत के इतिहास में यह एक वाटरशेड घटना थी। इससे देश का सोशल फैब्रिक काफी समय के लिए बदल गया था। इस घटना के समय अमृतसर के जिला कलेक्टर थे श्री रमेश इंदर सिंह। वे 1974 बैच के आईएएस अधिकारी हैं। उन्होंने न सिर्फ इस पूरी घटना को अपनी आंखों से देखा, बल्कि अगले 3 वर्षों तक अमृतसर के कलेक्टर रहते हुए उन्होंने इसके बाद की घटनाओं को जिया भी। उनके बेहतरीन काम के लिए महज 36 वर्ष की आयु में ही उन्हें पद्मश्री से सम्मानित किया गया। बाद में वे मुख्यमंत्री के प्रधान सचिव रहे, पंजाब के मुख्य सचिव नियुक्त हुए और फिलहाल सूबे के चीफ इंफॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर हैं। आइए आज हम उनसे बात करेंगे ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार के बारे में। आखिर क्यों हुआ, इसके लिए कौन लोग जिम्मेदार थे, क्या इसे अवॉइड किया जा सकता था, और उनके अगले 3 वर्ष के दौरान जिलाधिकारी रहते हुए ऑपरेशन ब्लैक थंडर भी हुआ, जिसमें उन्होंने फिर से स्वर्ण मंदिर में जा छिपे हथियारबंद आतंकवादियों से बातचीत कर उन्हें बिना एक भी गोली चलाए स्वर्ण मंदिर खाली करने पर तैयार कर लिया। उनसे जानेंगे कि क्या यदि उन्हें जिम्मेदारी दी जाती तो वे 1984 में भी गोलीबारी अवॉइड कर सकते थे। A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Ramesh Inder Singh.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So let's start with the book. You have written your memoirs in a rear view, the tales of administration and diplomacy. So 12 IAS officers have come together, IAS and IFS officers, and you have also written a book called Turmoil in Punjab, Before and After Operation Bluestar. So let's start with Operation Bluestar only. Okay, sir, you took over as district collector within, say, 36 hours before the operation started. So what was your first reaction?
Well, the situation was grave.
Yeah.
And it required a very, I would say, tactful and very firm handling. So when we learnt about it, we were told that the army has been called. The first thing which came to mind was how to organize, because the time span available with us was very, very short. It was hardly few hours. Golden Temple, as you know, is located in a very thickly populated area.
True.
It is part of the old walled city of Amritsar. तो वहाँ बिल्कुल घर जो हैं टेम्पल की बाउंड्री के ऊपर अबट करते हैं
जी,
नैरो लेन्स हैं। तो एक तो ये कंसर्न था कि जो इर्द गिर्द की पॉपुलेशन है, बिकॉज कर्फ्यू हैड टू बी इम्पोज्ड and one did not know at that time how long the operation will go on. So, unke liye how to take care of them, and when if there is exchange of fire, we didn't know at that time whether there would be or not. Then it can cause casualties outside the Golden Temple also to the population, because bullet to jo hai uski to range hai, wo us range mein jo bhi cheez aayegi usme maar karta hai. Second, also, it was a concern, can we avoid the military action? Can we persuade or appeal to the militants who had occupied the Golden Temple and put their morchas and machans, So this was also a concern, if we could do it. Uh, because, these kind of operations, they were not limited to Golden Temple alone. The army was called in the whole of Punjab. And curfew was also imposed in the whole of Punjab starting from the night of 3rd June 1984. So the entire state was virtually shut down. So उस situation में, the civil administration is expected to take all precautionary measures, anticipate the kind of problems which will arise. So उसकी planning क्या हो, how to deal with those eventualities, that was the main occupation.
Sir, could you sleep even for a night between, say, 3rd of June and 10th of June till the operation got over?
Actually, 3rd June तो इतनी नहीं थी जो है, but 4th June onwards till about 7th June was virtually 24 hours.
Where was your family at that time?
No, I had gone alone because I moved to Amritsar at a very short notice.
Yeah.
So उस समय I went alone. Frankly, when I left Chandigarh, one did not know what was, in the offing. What were the plans of, because army was summoned as per a decision taken by the subcommittee of the Union Cabinet.
Right.
We were under the president rule at that time. When I left Chandigarh, to be honest, I didn't know that this kind of a operation will lead to these kind of consequences. You see, family was in Chandigarh.
Because you have mentioned in your memoirs also that when you were informed that you have to take over immediately, so your first reaction was that maybe Gurdev has rubbed the administration wrong way.
Sir, Gurdev Singh, a very fine officer, my predecessor,
yeah,
from the state civil service, promoted into IAS. लेकिन उनकी जो थी लोकल फोर्सेस के साथ कुछ रिलेशनशिप की प्रॉब्लम थी, At that time we did not know that army had been summoned. जब मुझे पहले बताया गया कि आप अमृतसर अभी जाइए, क्योंकि ऑर्डर्स मेरे 1 जून को इशू हो गए थे and I had tied up with Gurdev कि मैं 5 जून को जो है टेक ओवर करूंगा. Then suddenly I was told कि नहीं आज ही जाओ on 3rd morning. So it naturally led to some speculation.
So once army action started, so civil administration, what was the role of civil administration?
No, army had its own plans. We were not involved in that. And civil administration had virtually no role in the operation, except that we made a sincere attempt, if we could avoid the military intervention, by appealing to the militants and radicals inside, to come out. तो उसके लिए army had agreed for a ceasefire for a certain period of time. तो public relations की वैन के ऊपर लाउड स्पीकर लगा के announcements were made during that ceasefire period for everyone to come out of the temple. लेकिन हुआ ये कि एक तो because public relation van is an ordinary van, it's not fortified, it doesn't have the security measures to avoid bullets, etc. So hesitancy थी staff के पास.
The driver was not ready to take the van.
बिल्कुल ही up to the point, to the gate of the
So it remained almost 200 meters away.
थोड़ा इस तरफ था, दो तरफ से गाड़ी ने जाके अनाउंस किया तो बड़ी बात जो है. So we don't know how effective the announcement was, whether everyone inside was able to hear it or not. But yes, 130-135 के करीब लोग बाहर आ गए थे.
फिर भी कितने लोग अंदर बचे थे?
देखिए, अंदर होगा कोई तकरीबन 2000 के करीब आदमी होगा, but the militants were only few hundred, 200-300.
That's right.
Rest were, 3rd June was the Guru Parab, जो है martyrdom day of Guru. तो उस समय very large number of pilgrims had come from all over Punjab to Golden Temple. At that time, nobody knew what was going to happen. Then suddenly on 3rd morning, curfew had to be imposed by my predecessor around the walled city. So those people got trapped inside, you see. 3 तारीख उसी दिन शाम को फिर 9 बजे से सारी पंजाब में कर्फ्यू लग गया. तो lot many pilgrims जो हैं वो अंदर रह गए थे.
तो सर टाइमिंग जो आर्मी एक्शन का था कि जस्ट इमीडिएटली आफ्टर गुरुपुरब, so do you think the political decision was not accurate, is they had not gauged the number of people who would be there?
No, there was obviously I would say an error of decision in this, to choose 3rd of June, because Major General Bragg, who commanded the armed forces, tells us in his book, he has written one on Bluestar, that he was proceeding on leave when he was suddenly also called and told to move his troops. His division was based in Meerut. The troops started coming in on 29th of May itself, and they landed and encircled the temple. पहले वहाँ encirclement थी, BSF और CRPF की थी वो.
But how come they did not know the number of militants and the armaments they had accumulated?
No, ऐसे है, armaments were known. They were conveyed to the army by the state CID as well as by the district administration in our first interaction with the army. They were told that the militants are determined, they will not surrender, and they have automatic weapons including LMGs. Army was, though later on, of course, General Bragg in his book writes that there was an intelligence failure. Maybe it didn't reach him, I don't know. But we had made it very clear. All reports which were coming in from the CID, local intelligence, IB, did indicate that, in fact, the weapons were visible right from outside because they had put up machans.
You're right.
And the barrel slightly abuts out, so you can make out. And army itself, and earlier than that, CRPF and BSF, 1st June say there was exchange of fire with the intent to know where the morchas are located and what kind of weapons they have.
But still, the army and the civil administration was not prepared for the shoulder-fired missiles or grenade launchers.
Well, only one grenade launcher was recovered. It was a Chinese-made grenade launcher which was recovered. There were no missiles. There were no other grenade launchers.
But then General General Singh Bhindrawale and General Shahbaz Singh, the way they demolished the armored vehicles of army and the number of casualties the army suffered, so that indicated that, and the fact that the tanks had to be used to when the infantry could not control or neutralize the militants. So the fact indicates that maybe they were not prepared for such heavy fire.
No, obviously there was a miscalculation. I may correct you. No armed vehicle was damaged or destroyed. Only one APC armed personal carrier with tires.
Right.
You see, normally armed vehicles have those chains.
Right.
This particular armed vehicle which carries people inside. It's not
right.
a tank. It went first inside the Golden Temple, and it had ordinary thick tires. Now, the militants fired at the tires and, flattened those tires. And it became immobile. It just sank there. Because if you remove the air, the vehicle kind of immobilized at that particular point. Obviously, that rocket launcher which was recovered may have been used to fire a grenade at the vehicle, though there are some other accounts also that it was one of the militants who crawled near the vehicle and fired at the vehicle and damaged it. But yes, tanks had to be called in. We civilians cannot appreciate what is fighting in a walled area which is fortified. Because your opponent is sitting behind a well-prepared morcha. What is a morcha? What they do is, like for example, you have a wall, they will have a small opening there. And they will fortify the wall with sandbags.
Right.
And from outside, you are not visible.
Right.
Absolutely, you are not visible. In fact, from a distance, you may not even notice that small
Opening.
pigeonhole, where a weapon is produced. And these militants were very well trained by General Shabi.
Yeah.
They were not, the barrels were not abutting out too much. Even if you fire, you can make out when the bullet goes out, it leaves a trace
Right.
at the barrel spark.
Right.
But the barrels were absolutely on the edge of the morcha, so that it became very difficult to even notice where is the morcha.
Okay. So from where the bullet is coming,
Bullet is coming, you don't know.
Yeah.
So these are difficulties because you see, army had used, of course, they were commandos, but most of the battalions were infantry battalions, which now we can say in retrospect were not prepared or adequately equipped and trained to deal in a fortified environment of, because army, as you might be knowing, it operates on the
Open ground.
that you have a target, pound them with artillery,
Yeah. Demolish
it, let them keep their heads down, and then the infantry moves in, and takes them over.
Right.
But when you're fighting your own people, you cannot adopt this strategy. You cannot demolish the place. In fact, that was a caveat given to the army that please see that damage is not caused to the temple.
Yeah.
So that was a handicap within which the army operated.
But still, a lot of damage was done not only to Akal Takht, but as you are the best just to know that maybe some Granthis and Ragis also of the main temple,
Yes,
Harmandir Sahib, they also were killed.
the instructions were not to fire at the temple, but when there is a crossfire, bullets, fly, and they did hit Golden Temple also. In fact, one of the Guru Granth Sahib bead also got a bullet. One Ragi also died inside.
Right.
But it was not, the army was not aiming at that as a target, because militants were firing across the. If you know the layout of Golden Temple,
Right, I do.
It's a kind
Square.
yeah, buildings all around it with the temple in the center.
And Akal Takht at the top of
one
it.
end,
At one end of it.
Yeah.
And Guru Ramdas Sarai and Guru Nanak
Yes.
Niwas
In fact,
at
we
the
have
others.
here, your camera maybe it can capture,
The layout of
this is the
layout of the temple.
layout of the temple,
Okay.
You have Sarovar,
Yeah.
which is the water body,
Yeah.
and
The other side is Guru Akal Takht, and
Yeah.
the other side is Guru Nanak Niwas and Ramdas Sarai.
Ji. So, tanks came in because of, when the army launched number of successive assaults to enter the Akal Takht, where Pindranwala was there, and also where bulk of the militants were
Right.
located. They didn't succeed. There were large number of casualties, deaths, because you are moving in open ground.
And they are
behind
the
walls. With a
the two,
fortified
those
position.
two, marble walls.
Marble walls and fortified with sandbags, etc. So it becomes very difficult, So that is why the APC was sent in with the intent. But when APC was mobilized, then the government took the decision to send the tanks.
In all, I think 86 army men led their lives.
That is what Major General Brad has said. But maybe there were casualties which later on, injured people who died. The overall number is much more than this. In fact, one of the Western Command Chief, General Hoon, who came after Sundarji, he has given a very high figure of the casualties of the army and paramilitary forces. About 300 of them, he has given the figure. And
the number of civilians and militants?
Civilians, you see, total deaths inside the Golden Temple were about 717. Now, how many of them were militants, it's very difficult to say. Because there were pilgrims also, particularly on the Sarai side.
Yeah.
Because militants were more or less concentrated on this side towards the Akal Takht, the entry point and the passage leading to Akal Takht, And most of the pilgrims were in the Sarai complex, Guru Nanak Niwas and this area, Langar side. Actually, it became a little difficult to identify because dead bodies, had started piling up from 3rd June night onwards. And evacuation of dead bodies started only after the firing was over, sometime during early morning around 10, 11, let's say, or maybe even later on 6th of June. So bodies had started decaying. It was month of June, how hot it is.
Right.
Though the police did photograph everyone and try to identify. Later on, government in fact even announced a relief for the innocent which may have been killed inside to their families. Even SGPC, Shromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee, they also announced relief. But I would put it that the number of militants may not be more than 200, 250.
But still, that's a big number.
That's a big number, very big number.
And there's also a theory that after the firing started, after the army action started, a number of militants, they sneaked out of the Golden Temple premises.
A minuscule number. It's important to understand here that militants were not a monolithic organization, that there is one chief and there is a hierarchy of militants.
Yeah.
There were a number of militant organizations operating independent of each other. Babbar Khalsa was one organization which was
siding with Mr. Longowal.
Not Longowal, but they were not with Bhindranwala. Let's put it this way. And this group was more or less headquartered on the Sarai complex towards Guru Nanak Niwas. They were not inside the Prekarima of the Golden Temple or Akal Takht.
Right.
So boys of this group did manage to breach a wall, break a wall towards the Guru Nanak Niwas, which had been blocked by the Golden Temple itself, but it led to a street towards the walled city of Amritsar, and from there people did manage to
go out. Okay, one more thing that once the SGPC itself put its hands up, Mr. Longowal and Mr. Tora, they said that now Mr. General Singh Bhindranwala is not under our control. And please, somehow, you take whatever action required, you take it and neutralize him. So, wasn't he initially didn't he enter the Golden Temple premises on invitation of Mr. Tora and Mr. Longowal?
Let me correct facts of this. Tora and Longowal, to my knowledge, never openly said to the government that you neutralize him. I'm not aware of that. You have. Secondly, Tora and Longowal and Bhindranwala had fallen out with each other long time, much before the Operation Bluestar.
Right.
Longowal had condemned violence, and so had Tora.
Yeah.
You see that your killings of innocent people must stop. The Sikh religion does not preach this. It believes in universal brotherhood, in unity of God, and so on and so forth. In fact, Longowal himself faced threats from the militants.
In fact, Mr. Longowal himself wanted to eliminate General Singh Bhindranwale, and that's why his aide, Mr. Bhatia, was killed, despite being forgiven by Sant Bhindranwale.
No, I don't know whether he wanted to kill Bhindranwale or not. That is not, I'm not privy to that information. But yes, what you are saying is correct, that one of the assistants or followers or part of the team of Longowal was eliminated by Bhindranwale because of a internal fight, clash between
and that too after being forgiven by Bhindranwale, his boys killed him.
As I told you, it was not a hierarchy, monolithic command. they were, I mean, each 2-3 boys may be operating independent of everyone, you know. So it was a very disorganized kind of a violent movement by the militants. Now, coming to
the invitation part.
Invitation.
Bhindranwale was invited into the Golden premises.
You see, no, he was never invited. Let me again clarify. You see, you have to go into the history of this entire movement. There are two aspects to it: the political movement and the militant terrorist movement. The political movement started with the announcement by Mrs. Indira Gandhi of a water award between Punjab and Haryana. A case was pending before the Supreme Court, you know, filed by Haryana and Punjab both regarding division of power, water. Mrs. Gandhi, and both Haryana and Punjab were ruled by the Congress chief ministers. She summoned both the chief ministers and told them that you withdraw this case from Supreme Court and I will give an award.
Bhajanlal and Darbara Singh.
Darbara Singh, you're very right. So that award was not liked by Punjab. In fact, Darbara Singh also protested, and it's very well known that Mrs. Gandhi told her that if you don't sign, I'll dismiss you. Now, that resulted in a kind of people of Punjab felt that they are being discriminated, and they attributed it because Akali Dal, etc., had opposed emergency. You know, if you recall, almost 70,000 Akali Dal workers had quoted arrest.
Yeah,
you know, at that time. So they felt that Indira Gandhi is discriminating them. So they launched a agitation. This agitation was called Water Morcha. Mrs. Gandhi had come to lay down the foundation stone of Satluj Yamuna
link
canal, you know. And at that time, let me also tell you that Akali Dal was not alone. Even BJP, Jan Sangh at that time supported them. Even CPI-M and CPI-I, they supported the party.
Okay. Then the morcha, this water morcha, because it was a secular cause for Punjab. You see, there was nothing religious about it. Though spearheaded by political parties, on one side was Congress parties, on the other side was the opposition parties. Then, you know, if you recollect the history, there was a clash in 1978, I think, April, between few Sikhs led by Bhindranwale and the Nirankaris. Yes.
Nirankaris were holding a smagam, their annual smagam, in Amritsar, and Sikhs viewed them that they have committed many sacrileges and they have distorted Sikhism. So in that clash, about 13 people were killed, mostly by the fire from the Nirankari side. So Bhindranwale had launched a movement against the Nirankaris.
You're right.
And Nirankari chief, the then Nirankari chief, was also one of the main accused. Case was transferred out of Punjab, and the court in Karnal acquitted them. Punjab was under governor rule, and an appeal was not preferred against the decision of the district judge to the High Court. So this also became a cause of grievance to have. And Bhindranwale was had launched an independent morcha. Morcha means an agitation, and he was quoting arrest outside the DC office. Then at some stage, Akali Dal took the decision, and I think it was a grave mistake, to shift the headquarter of their movement from the SYL, Karpuri village to Golden Temple, which also housed an office of
SGPC.
Akali Dal. In the group, not the temple part of it, but the administrative complex part of it. So once this happened, the various political parties which had extended support, they withdrew.
Mm-hmm.
And Bhindranwale was invited, you join this agitation with us. Bhindranwale was based in Guru Nanak Niwas, which is the Sarai part of it.
On the other side of the Sarovar?
On the other side of the temple.
Just opposite Akal Takht.
Opposite Akal Takht. There is a road across the road. Then a clash was triggered between Babbar Khalsa International and the followers of Bhindranwale.
Bhindranwale.
I don't have evidence or proof, but I have information from knowledgeable sources that it was our friends from across the border,
Yeah.
you see, who had triggered this clash to push Bhindranwale to shift to Akal Takht. And I'll share with you, I have mentioned there is a separate chapter in my book on the Holy Mosque in Makkah. 2 years before Bluestar, as the Golden Temple was, occupied by the militants, excuse me, the Holy Mosque in Makkah was captured by few fundamental Islamic forces.
Oh.
They were against the Saudi royalty, and they said they are not, Islamic enough. And they also built similar morchas. And Saudis, when they tried to clear them from the mosque, they were fired at and they had to retreat with deaths. Then the Saudi Arabia sought the help of America, French commandos, Pakistan commandos. And they all moved in. Now, you know that it's a very holy city for the Islam faith. And unless you are a Muslim by faith, they don't allow you entry into
Mecca.
Into Makkah and mosque. So the French and Americans face this constraint.
They could not enter inside the mosque.
Obviously, I mean, then there will be this will be another accusation against the Saudi monarchy that they are making in non-Muslims.
But Harmandir Sahib is a mandir for everybody.
Harimandir is a mandir for everyone. In fact, Harimandir has 4 entrance points.
Right.
The rationale of that is that all 4 varnas, a traditional Hindu society, all 4 castes of Hinduism, they are welcome. And of course, Sikhs, so hey. So that time, the Pakistan had experienced this operation, and then their security forces knew what are the consequences of entering into a holy mosque. Because in Saudi Arabia also, they killed some of them, they captured some of them, but parts of their army revolted.
Oh.
And there was an underground movement, armed movement. It took them some time to eliminate those.
Even after Bluestar, when the weapons were seized, a lot of weapons had Pakistani, Chinese.
I'm coming to that. Let me explain this.
Yeah, please.
So they knew that if you attack Sarai, where the militants are, it will not evoke the kind of reaction from the followers, which it would if you attack Akal Takht or Golden Temple. So it was a calculated move, to shift, anticipating that in case there is an operation, and forces have to enter inside, what would be the constraints and what would be the kind of Sikh reaction to that. It was, if I would say, a failure on our part, because if normally all these kind of operations are studied by all countries, all wars, all these operations. So somebody in India also would have studied and examined. Now, in fact, when I went in Golden Temple on 7th, and we brought in the head priest to restore the Maryada and recommence, I asked Jathedar, the Akal Takht, he had tears in his eyes. I said, why did you not stop him? He said, ji, kaun sunta si, unna kol ta bandooka si, naal di naal bandook rakh dinte si sir te. So it was not by invitation, it was
by force.
By forced occupation. And Akal Takht is not a place of residence.
No, it is not.
It is not a place of.
It is where the Guru Granth Sahib is kept in the night.
Exactly.
And General Bhindranwale, he was staying above
on the backside of Akal Takht, but within the same building.
Yeah.
Yes, above on the upper stories. So the point I'm making is,
which should have been considered as a sacrilege.
It should have been considered as a sacrilege. Yes, I agree with you. Now, so far as weapons are concerned, the second question, Pakistanis are very smart, I must say. What they did was that they recycled the captured weapons of Indian forces from 71 war.
Oh.
So bulk of the weapons which were recovered from the Golden Temple, barring that Chinese-fired rocket launcher, were of either Indian origin or the kind of weapons of foreign origin which we use. But I would credit them with this strategy, because you see, when you conduct these kind of operations, the first measure which foreign forces will take is that their linkage to their sport to the movement should not be there. That is why Pakistan, I would suggest, if since you are interested in the subject, read one book. It's written by a Pakistani professor, Professor Chatta, and published by the Cambridge University Press. It's called Punjab, the Borderlands. Now that Punjab he's talking about is Pakistani Punjab. And he explains in a very elaborate manner how the intelligence forces of Pakistan established various base camps along the Indian border and brought in their smugglers, well-established smugglers as front. And how boys because at that time it was, the fence was not there, you see. It was an open border. And the only dividing line was a small kacha pathway. Okay. This side you had pillar, this side they had their pillar. And you could just walk across. Yeah. See, animals in any case always walked across each other. So they established these pickets, you see, so that the boys were encouraged to cross over, and then these smugglers picked them up as a facade. And apparently it's the smugglers training them for opium smuggling or drug smuggling to give the impression that these boys are raising their own resources by sale of these and then plowing it back to weaponize themselves, to cover up their tracks. So that is the reason why, weapons were not of Pakistan origin.
लेकिन सर हम ये सारी स्ट्रेटजीज को समझ नहीं पाए, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, हर इंटेलिजेंस.
I'm sure information would be there. It's not that information would not be there. It would be known. Probably, I would say, why probably? I would say definitely there was a miscalculation on part of our security forces, our establishment, how to deal with the situation. Hota kya hai na? And this is precisely what happened. Killings were going on. Innocent people were being killed. Hindus at one or two spots were pulled out of buses and killed. तो उससे public opinion का pressure आ जाता है. And governments tend to act under that pressure. And at that time, also it happened because people had started accusing you, what are you doing? The killing started in 79. Why did you take to go up to 84? You see, DIG Atwal, for example,
he was
killed, I think 82 May outside Golden Temple.
Right.
And then they took a conscious decision not to, chase the murderers towards the Sarai complex to arrest them. Directions came all the way from Delhi not to enter the temple complex.
Right.
So these are the questions which need to be answered.
Same with P.S. Bender.
P.S. Bender never died. He was the IG of the Punjab police, sent from Delhi by the then establishment. But he's gone on record. By the way, I've quoted him, gave a statement to the statesman that there were instructions from top not to check the trucks, etc., Car Seva 1, going inside. And
which carried weapons.
Which carried weapons. Because you see, your LMG or stain gun, etc., it can't be hidden under the shirt.
Right. But there was only one stain gun and a couple of...
No. There were many LMGs
inside.
Inside.
Mm-hmm. So somehow it's basically the political establishment which erred in judgment, and because of which restrained the police and which did not act on information supplied by CID and intelligence, which resulted in...
Let's put it this way. One can segregate that it was a political failure, bureaucratic failure, police failure, or army failure.
Bureaucracy in any case acts on instructions.
But it was a collapse. Let's put it this way. Collapse of the entire establishment, which resulted in this by drift. Had they tackled effectively, in 78 when the Nirankaris killing started, militancy started after that. the origin of militancy is not for what we today tend to believe. The origin of militancy was to target the Nirankaris.
Right.
And they started killing them, and they had no weapons, small weapons, pistols and revolvers. And that also now we know that through interrogation of those days militants, that they were issued weapon, given the target, go and kill that Nirankari and come and deposit the weapon back.
Because there were very few weapons.
There were few. Then they extended it to the sympathizers or those who were, let's say, supporting the cause of Nirankaris, their circle, and the police officers who were chasing them.
Right.
So the circle became larger. Lala Jagat Narayan, for example, in Samachar group, he was targeted primarily because he had given evidence in the Nirankari Bhindranwala clash in favor of the Nirankaris.
Okay.
And he was picked up as a target, and he was in any case viewed by the then leadership of militants as anti-Sikh, So he was targeted and killed. The point I'm making is that at this stage, the number of killer boys was hardly maybe 20, 30 boys, not more than that. Maybe maximum you have. And the kind of weapons they had were small weapons, So if the state had handled that situation effectively, it would have been nipped in the bud. But no, it could not be handled. I'm not saying they did not make efforts. I'm sure that then people would have made the effort. It drifted. The first killing of non-Nirankari innocent peoples took place after Bhindranwala was arrested, after the murder of Lala Jagat Narayan.
You're right. And one more thing I like to know from you, the way Darbara Singh government was dismissed. Darbara Singh was known to be against militancy, taking a very hard stance against militancy. So was there this a reason, the difference between in the approach taken by Gyani Jail Singh and Darbara Singh? Gyani Jail Singh was the Union Home Minister at that time, and Darbara Singh was the Chief Minister. So was there a difference of opinion between the two, and that led to the aggravation of the crisis?
Yes, they did contribute. They were in fact rivals within the same party.
Yeah.
They were part of the same party, but rivals. Each was trying to checkmate the other. It did contribute towards ineffective handling of the situation.
Okay. So you were a district collector of Amritsar from 84 to 87. And you must have handled the aftermath of Operation Bluestar. And you have also handled very effectively Operation Black Thunder 1. So let me just take a break for a sec, and I'll come back to you again to know how you tackled the aftermath and what was the difference between Operation Black Thunder 1 and Operation Bluestar. Operation Bluestar के बारे में इतनी अधिक जानकारी संभवतः कहीं नहीं मिलेगी. देश के इतिहास में इसका क्या रोल था, ये भी हमें जानने को मिला. आखिर ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार के बाद स्थितियां कैसी थीं और उन्हें रमेश इंदर सिंह जी ने कैसे संभाला, हम इसके बारे में बात करेंगे अगले एपिसोड में.